Germany was speaking freely because it believed no one on Earth could understand them. September 1st, 1939. 4:45 a.m. Berlin. The city is still asleep when the machines begin to speak. Inside a low-lit room of the German Army High Command, rows of metal boxes hum softly, their rotors clicking into motion. A young signals officer tightens his headphones, pencil hovering above a notepad. The message arriving through the static is routine: troop movements, fuel allocations, marching orders, but the confidence behind it is absolute. It is wrapped in a code no enemy can touch. The Enigma machine has just done its work. Steel keys clack, internal rotors spin, letters become lies, truth disappears. You can almost hear the certainty in the room. This war, at least on paper, will be fought in darkness because darkness belongs to Germany. No bombs fall yet, no shots are fired, but somewhere between those clicking rotors, the Second World War has already become a contest of minds. Across the channel, the morning feels very different. Same day, same hour, southern England. A thin mist hangs over the countryside as cyclists pedal past hedgerows and stone cottages. The air smells of wet grass and coal smoke. Nothing here looks like the front line. Nothing suggests that this quiet place will soon decide the fate of continents. Then the iron gates appear. Behind them stands a sprawling Victorian estate with mismatched buildings, peeling paint, and an almost apologetic sign nailed near the entrance. Bletchley Park. The name means nothing yet. It sounds like a weekend retreat, a footnote, a place you'd forget as soon as you passed it. But inside those gates, the war is about to be fought in whispers. The people arriving don't look like soldiers. They carry briefcases, not rifles. Some wear tweed jackets. Others look as if they've stepped out of university libraries, not battlefields. There are chess champions, linguists, crossword addicts, mathematicians who mumble to themselves. One man in particular stands out only because he doesn't try to. He is tall, awkward, slightly hunched, as if apologizing for the space he takes up. His tie is crooked. His hair refuses discipline. He rides his bicycle straight through the gates without slowing, chain rattling, coat flapping. This is Alan Turing. No medals. No rank that matters. No battlefield experience. And yet, quietly, he may be the most dangerous man in the world to Nazi Germany. At this moment, German intelligence officers sleep well. They trust Enigma the way sailors trust the stars. The machine is elegant, mechanical perfection. A typewriter connected to rotating cipher wheels that change the encryption with every keystroke. Each letter typed is transformed into another letter, never the same one twice. At midnight, settings change. Every day brings a new lock. Mathematicians in Berlin have calculated the possibilities. More combinations than atoms in the universe. Break one message today, and tomorrow it means nothing. The Germans believe this with religious certainty. And why wouldn't they? Poland fell in weeks. Communications flowed freely. Orders crossed Europe in safety. Submarines stalked the Atlantic like wolves, guided by messages the enemy could not read. The code is not just secure. It is invincible. At Bletchley Park, the mood is different. The rooms smell of ink, damp paper, and cold tea. Walls are pinned with message fragments, meaningless strings of letters, chalked guesses, half-erased theories. There is no applause here, no victory music, only pressure, because every unread message costs lives. A convoy vanishes in the Atlantic. A bomber squadron flies straight into waiting guns. Somewhere, a commander makes the wrong decision because he cannot see the enemy's hand. And that hand is written in Enigma. Turing understands something most do not. Brute force will never work. No human can try every possibility. No team can outpace the machine by hand. So he begins thinking sideways. What if the machine could be beaten by another machine? Not smarter, not faster, just relentless. In another building on the estate, a young woman sits at a desk covered in notebooks. Her posture is precise, her handwriting immaculate. She does not raise her voice. She does not need to. Her name is Joan Clarke. To many here, she is invisible, another girl doing clerical work. To Turing, she is essential. Her mathematical intuition catches patterns others miss. She sees structure in chaos, order in noise, Together, they are assembling something radical. Not a weapon, a method. They study German habits instead of German mathematics. Weather reports, repeated phrases, the way officers sign off messages, the human fingerprints left behind by operators who believe they are safe. "You can't think like a machine," Turing mutters once, pacing the floor. "You have to think like the man using it. And men, unlike machines, make mistakes." The first electromechanical monsters are sketched on scrap paper. Huge, loud, temperamental. If they fail, there is no backup plan. These machines will not crack Enigma outright. They will narrow the darkness, strip away impossibilities until a single light remains. But building them takes time. Time Britain may not have. Every day, Germany advances. Every night, the code changes. And somewhere in Berlin, officers remain utterly confident that no one is listening. They are wrong. They just don't know it yet. As the sun sets over Bletchley Park, the windows glow faintly. Inside, rotors spin, not German ones, but British answers to them. Pencils snap. Coffee goes cold. Silence stretches, then breaks with sudden laughter or despair. This is not a battle of explosions. It is a battle of exhaustion. And tonight, for the first time, the unbreakable lock begins to show a hairline crack. But if Turing and his team are wrong, if the crack is imagined, then everything that follows will be built on sand. And the cost of being wrong will be measured in ships, cities, and graves. The strongest code in history didn't break because of force. It broke because of a human mistake. The room goes silent. Not the peaceful kind. This is the silence that follows a bad realization. Papers stop rustling. A pencil freezes mid-note. Somewhere, a clock ticks too loudly. It's late autumn now, October 1939. Bletchley Park. Cold creeps in through the stone walls, settling into fingers and joints. Breath fogs faintly in the air. On the table lies another intercepted German message. Same meaningless letters, same impossible cipher. And yet, something feels wrong. Alan Turing leans closer, eyes narrowing. He has seen this before. Not the message, but the shape of it. A weather report. German naval transmissions often begin the same way. The same phrases, the same structure. Predictable, comforting, lazy, human. The German operators trust Enigma so completely that they've stopped thinking about what they're doing. They repeat phrases. They use familiar openings. They sign off with the same polite formalities. They behave like men who believe no one is watching. Turing taps the paper once. "This," he says quietly, "is where they fail." Across the table, Joan Clarke studies the same text. She doesn't look at the letters individually. She looks at gaps, repetition, rhythm. She sketches possibilities in her notebook, not words, but alignments. Logical collisions where Enigma's rules could not contradict themselves. Her voice is calm when she speaks. If the message starts with weather, and the cipher never encrypts a letter as itself, she trails off. They both see it now. A crib. A known or guessed piece of plaintext hiding inside the encrypted message. Foothold. The first crack in the unbreakable lock. But guessing the crib is only the beginning. Even with a crib, there are still millions of rotor positions to test. No team of humans could check them fast enough before the Germans changed the settings at midnight. Time is the enemy. Again. Turing pushes back his chair and stands abruptly, knocking it over. He doesn't apologize. He's already pacing, hands twitching, mind racing faster than his body can follow. "The machine must do the work," he mutters. "Not us, never us." This is where paper and pencil end. This is where the war enters the age of machines thinking about machines. In a nearby workshop, engineers are already building something unprecedented. Tall cabinets of wires, drums, and whirring components fill the room. They smell of hot metal and oil. When switched on, they roar, not like engines, but like thousands of synchronized thoughts. This is the bomb machine. Not elegant, not graceful, relentless. It doesn't solve Enigma. It hunts contradictions, testing hypothetical settings at terrifying speed, discarding impossibilities until only viable solutions remain. Where a human might take years, the bomb takes hours, sometimes minutes, sometimes nothing at all, because the machine is unforgiving. If the assumptions are wrong, it gives you nothing back. Night after night, the team feeds guesses into the bomb. Most fail. The machine screams, clicks, spins, then stops. Dead ends. Wrong cribs. False hope. Each failure feels heavier than the last because outside these walls the war is accelerating. In the Atlantic, German U-boats tighten their grip. The Kriegsmarine moves like a shadow beneath the waves. Guided by encrypted orders no one can read. Convoys vanish. Oil burns on black water. And every time a ship sinks, the question hangs unspoken in the air at Bletchley. Was the answer in a message we missed? Then one night everything changes. It's just past 11 p.m. The bomb has been running for hours, its noise becoming background torture. People are half asleep at their desks. Someone has given up and is staring at the wall. Suddenly, the machine halts. Not a failure stop, a hit. Lights freeze. The roar collapses into silence. A technician looks up, heart pounding. "Alan," he calls, "you'd better see this." Turing is there in seconds. So is Joan Clarke. They crowd around the output, rotor positions, plug board settings. A complete logical alignment. It shouldn't exist, but it does. Hands shake as the settings are rushed to a replica Enigma machine. Keys are adjusted. The message is typed back in. One letter appears, then another, then words. Real words. German, clear, alive. No one cheers. No one dares. They read the message in stunned silence. It's not dramatic, no grand strategy. Just routine naval orders, coordinates, patrol routes, timings. But those coordinates are death sentences, or reprieves. For the first time, Britain is not blind. For the first time, the enemy has spoken and been understood. And somewhere in the North Atlantic, a convoy that was meant to die will unknowingly change course. But even in this moment of triumph, Turing feels no relief. Because he knows the truth. This victory expires at midnight. The Germans will change their settings. The lock will snap shut again. Unless Bletchley can do this every single day. Without fail. Without error. For years. And if the Germans ever realize their secret is compromised, even once, they will change Enigma forever. Ending everything. The room slowly exhales. They have cracked the code. Now they must keep the secret that they have cracked it. And that secret may be the most dangerous one of all. They could now save lives, but choosing to act would expose everything. The paper is burned. Not later, not ceremonially. Immediately, the decoded message, still warm from the machine, is fed into a metal bin and reduced to ash. No copies, no loose ends, no proof it ever existed. Because reading the enemy's mind is useless if the enemy realizes it. Inside Bletchley Park, a new rule now governs everything. You never act as if you know too much. Morning breaks cold and gray. Outside the estate, Britain wakes up blind to what happened overnight. Newspapers carry old news. Admirals sip tea without knowing their maps are already outdated. Pilots brief for missions unaware that enemy positions have already been read like open books. But at Bletchley, knowledge is poison unless handled carefully. A German convoy route decoded at dawn cannot simply be avoided. That would be suspicious. Patterns would emerge. Berlin would notice. So decisions are choreographed. Sometimes a convoy is saved, but only if it can be explained by aerial reconnaissance. Sometimes a city is warned, but only if another source can take the credit. Sometimes nothing is done at all, and people die, knowingly. Alan Turing hates this part. He understands it, he agrees with it, but it gnaws at him. He knows what the messages say. He knows where the submarines are waiting. He knows which ships are sailing into traps. And sometimes the order comes down from London, do nothing, because one saved convoy is not worth losing the entire war. Turing doesn't argue. He just turns back to his machine, jaw clenched, fingers trembling slightly as he adjusts the settings. This is the cost of omniscience. Joan Clarke feels it too, though she carries it differently. She keeps her voice steady, her notes immaculate, her calculations flawless. But at night, she stares at the ceiling of her rented room, replaying the numbers in her head. She knows which messages were read, which were ignored, which lives were balanced against probability curves. There is no room here for heroics, only arithmetic. As weeks turn into months, the operation grows. More bombs are built. Louder, faster, hungrier. More staff arrive, young men and women sworn to secrecy under threat of prison. More huts appear on the grounds, each devoted to a different branch of the German war machine. Naval traffic, Air Force commands, army movements. The stream of intercepted messages becomes a flood, and beneath it all lies a codename so secret it is rarely spoken aloud. Ultra. If Ultra is ever compromised, if even one German officer suspects Enigma has been broken, the rotors will change, the procedures will tighten, and years of work will vanish overnight. Everything depends on silence. Then, in early 1941, the silence is threatened. German naval messages begin changing too often. Not daily, sometimes multiple times a day. New procedures, new discipline, fewer repeated phrases. Operators who no longer sign off casually. Someone in Berlin is getting nervous. At Bletchley, the bomb struggle. Hits come slower. Some days, not at all. The Atlantic darkens again. Sinkings rise. Turing studies the reports, heart-pounding. They're adapting, he says flatly, not because they know, but because war forces them to improve. Which is worse, because improvement without suspicion is harder to counter. The team is pushed to the brink. Work becomes relentless. 12-hour shifts, then 14, then 18. Sleep happens in chairs, on floors, whenever the machine stops long enough. Mistakes creep in. A wrong assumption, a missed contradiction, a crib that almost fits, and almost is deadly. One night, the bomb runs for hours without result, then stops empty. No solution. That means tomorrow's messages may remain unread, and tomorrow's ships may not come home. It is in this moment, this narrow, suffocating gap between knowledge and disaster, that Turing does something extraordinary, something risky, something that borders on insubordination. He writes directly to the highest authority in the land, not to explain mathematics, not to boast, but to warn that without more machines, more people, and more urgency, the advantage will be lost. The letter leaves Bletchley under strict secrecy. Its destination, the very top of wartime Britain. And if it fails, if help does not come, the window into Germany's mind may slam shut forever. Because the enemy is evolving, and the machines, for the first time, are falling behind. If you've made it this far, then you are now part of this secret. Follow/subscribe, or this story will die right here. If you knew that tomorrow's single decision could cause the deaths of thousands, would you stay silent just to win a war? Backhand index pointing down, comment only yes or an O in part 2. I will reveal what Turing chose.